Welcome to the Rock and Roll Podcast Plus One, your all access pass to the people who make the music we all love. As a member of Saigon Kick and Cold Sweat, co-host Chris McLernon has himself gone platinum. Radio veteran Jack Trash cut his on-air teeth at the legendary metal rocker KNAC-FM in Los Angeles. And together, Jack and Chris talk to friends old and new, and you are on the guest list as their Plus One.
Hello and welcome into another episode of Plus One, a rock and roll podcast. I'm Jack Trash.
And I am Chris McLernon.
And today we have ourselves a not one, but two Hall of Famer. This is cool. I mean, this is kind of royalty here.
It is. And I wasn't sure quite how to behave.
I was the exact same way. I mean, we're talking about, and we're talking to Felix Cavaliere, who was the Rascals and also the new Rascals.
Yes.
And when we got the invitation to do this, I mean, I looked him up on Google. I mean, he's 81 years old.
Yeah.
So I was like, whoa, what are we going to get here? Well, as you're going to find out, dude is sharp as a tack.
Yes, he is. Yeah, there's no brain matter that is not unused there. He's killing.
Exactly, and full memory.
Yep.
He's kind of my hero now, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. That's something to look forward to, right?
Yeah. So he's in two Halls of Fame. If you were lucky enough to be asked to be in one, you can only be in one of them. Which one would you rather be in, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or the Songwriter Hall of Fame?
Well, if it was me, I would pick Songwriters.
Right.
And that's what Felix picked.
Yeah, that's what he picked too. But
so I thought that was awesome because you never know, because part of the getting in this business is the ego performer part. So Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, that screams ego and on stage and everyone adoring you. But Songwriter is achievement and skill and execution. And I think most musicians would rather be in that one.
Yeah.
If they were honest, because sometimes we're not honest, but that one, I think we'd all agree. I'd rather be in the Songwriter because that's legacy.
Yeah, for sure. We will get into this because this is a whole show in itself. But my thoughts on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is they need to change the name.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Just call it the Music Hall of Fame, and then all this other stuff would just go away.
Yeah, modern pop music hall of fame, something, right?
Yeah. Just music is fine.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree.
Well, all encompassing, and then you can put in your whoever else you want to put in there. If you want to put Flo Rida in there, you can do it.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Because frankly, you should be able to have, Mitch Ryder, let's say, and Motorhead. I mean, they both made a mark.
Yeah.
But there's this kind of weird, hierarchy of qualifications that make no sense.
Yeah.
I don't get it, and everyone gets annoyed by it, and justifiably so.
And I'm going to pose a question right here. We're not going to answer it now. We'll answer it another time. One of the criteria for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is that you have to be a band for 25 years. Right.
Oh yeah, right. That's like an NFL career. Be glad to get 3 records out. 25 years. Good God.
So you have to 25 years since the beginning of when you started till whatever. I mean, obviously, like Sex Pistols are in. They weren't around. They weren't a band for 25 years.
Oh, 3?
25 years. Yeah. So here is my question. I'm just going to leave it out there in the ether, and people can comment or whatever you want to do it, because I have the one in my head. So we're talking rock and roll only.
Yeah.
What band that started year 2000 going forward deserves to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
I have one. I mean, seriously, there's only one band that I can think of that deserves that title of being able to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. If you're going by Hall of Fame and not Hall of Very Good.
Oh, right. I get you. Okay, so who is it?
We'll
okay. Future show. Okay, I got you.
We'll let people if you want to comment on it. Love to see what your comments are. And
yeah.
And we'll go from there.
Yeah. Okay.
But for right now, we're gonna go be in royalty right now.
Yes.
Here's our conversation with Felix Cavaliere.
That's right. But describe Blue Eyed Soul for us.
Well, it's really an interesting thing because I don't know exactly how to describe it. The way I kind of, I grew up, 20 minutes from New York City, where Alan Freed brought rock and roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the beginning of the new era, so basically all the music that I heard at that time was pretty much R&B music.
Yeah.
I mean, it was Chuck Berry, Ray Charles, Jerry Lee Lewis, Smokey Robinson, and then these magnificent vocal groups, the majority of which were black groups. There was some like the Diamonds, and there was a lot of groups, the doo-wop groups, but for the most part, it was an R&B world until, of course, people would come along and re-record the songs, like, for example, Pat Boone with Little Richard,
Yeah.
Uh,
Man, that's a pairing.
Yeah.
Well, it really is, but it happened, as I don't know if you saw that. I don't know if you saw that documentary. Did you see the Little Richard documentary?
I haven't seen that, and I love Richard, so I got to see that.
Well, you should see it. I think CNN put it on, and it goes through all of his career and his life, which is pretty darn interesting life.
Oh yeah.
And it shows his reaction to, when Pat Boone had hits with his songs. It was an interesting time, and I'm not sure that it's behind us, but anyway.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jack. Sorry.
You've got two accomplishments in your life, and I'm just wondering which one kind of means more to you: being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or the Songwriters Hall of Fame?
Well, quite frankly, the Songwriters Hall of Fame does. I mean, for people who don't know, there's no museum. It's not televised.
Right.
The Songwriter Hall of Fame is kind of like a obscure honor. But the people who are in that, for the most part, are the real deal. I was extremely overwhelmed when they asked me to go into that that Hall of Fame there. That really was a high point for me.
Wow. Do they? How did they get a hold of you for that?
Well, most of us are with either ASCAP or BMI or some sort of a service, and those people are very involved in the selection, and in the running of that event. So I got a call from a lovely lady at ASCAP, who, would you like to be in the Hall of Fame, the songwriter? I said, oh my God. I mean, seriously, that was it for me.
Wow. Talk about one of the dumbest questions anybody's ever asked. Would you like to be in the Hall of Fame? Well, let me think about it for a minute.
Yeah, it was kind of like, they had already nominated, because that's the process in all of these Hall of Fames. The members usually vote. Like, for example, every year we get a ballot from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and there's maybe, I don't know, I say at least 10, maybe 15 people on it, and we, the inductees, have to, give our selections. However, we have no voice whatsoever in the selections. That's the rub. That's the problem. See, so in other words, if the board, whoever those people are, don't put your name in there, you don't get voted on. And that's where the politics come in.
Is that the same for the Songwriters Hall of Fame?
I'll bet you it's the same for everything, including the Oscars. In other words, if you don't get nominated, nobody can elect you,
Right.
And it's kind of like the primaries, only worse. Yeah.
Right.
So there's a lot of politics involved, and as a result, you do hear a lot of complaints about, well, who's not in the Hall of Fame that should be,
Right.
Right.
And that's the reason why.
Got to get them nominated.
You got to get them nominated.
Right.
You got to get on the ballot. And that's not easy because, as I say, there's a lot of politics involved. I mean, we had a lot of help. We meaning the Rascals, because we had people in our corner. That Frankie Valli, Dion, Steve Van Zandt, Phil Spector. They were part of the board, I guess, at that time, and whatever they did, they put our names there for a few years in a row until finally we got on.
It's great.
So when is that actual induction every year for the
Which one?
Rock and
The
Roll
Hall of Fame?
Yeah, the one in Cleveland.
Well, the thing is that the Hall of Fame now is I believe it's in the early part of the year, but there's a television show that is really when people think, it's already, the votes already come in,
Right.
but that's a television show that I believe HBO puts on. And I'm not sure when that's on, but that's the problem. I mean, if I may say so, television shows need audiences.
Yeah.
So basically they're not really looking at, like the history of rock and roll. They're looking at who's going to bring in the viewers. So it's kind of changed a little bit over the years.
Right.
Now, when you were inducted, did they give you an invite to come and play?
Sometimes they will, sometimes it depends on the people if they want to hear them or not,
Right.
Maybe they don't, but I think most of the people get an invite to play.
Would you?
We did.
Oh, you did?
Well, it was pretty interesting because we hadn't spoken in, 10, 15 years, but other than that, it was good.
Did you rehearse beforehand or did you just go in cold?
Oh yeah. We rehearsed in New York City, even though I don't live there anymore. Yeah, we got ready as much as we could. It's kind of like a divorce. You know what I mean? They say, hey, look, how'd you like to spend a weekend with your ex? How would you like to spend a weekend with your ex?
Yep.
So what was that like walking into that first rehearsal if you've not seen these guys in 10 years?
Well, I mean, it was different. I mean, it was not like a most pleasant experience I've ever had, but we had Arif Mardin. I don't know if you're familiar with that name, but you should be. Yeah, he was there to kind of like govern the kids, So it went okay.
He was your Tom Hagen. Made sure everything went smoothly.
Oh yeah, we had to make sure we were kind of like behaving ourselves, which is not easy.
Yeah.
The Rascals. Yeah.
I was going to say
Rascals.
Appropriately named.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Most of the people that we talk to that have been in Ringo Starr's All-Star Band are like, wow, we get to play with a Beatle. I'm wondering if it's kind of the same for you because you're more of a contemporary and with him, or was he more like, wow, I get to play with a Rascal?
No, a Beatle's a Beatle, man. I mean, he was just here in Nashville. They just did a special tribute to him at the Musicians Hall of Fame here. He was into work with those All-Stars at the Ryman, which is a famous, Nashville. And so they gave him a special. I just saw him on Sunday. A Beatle's a Beatle, man. And I don't care what era you're from. There's a lot of respect for those guys. I mean, they made such changes to our industry.
Right.
I mean, it's not just, the songs, it's what they did to open up doors for us that, I'll always be beholden to them. That's for sure.
Well, it seems like from, my limited perspective at the time that they were so important in their own songwriting that they encouraged other people to do it. So
absolutely,
record companies had to kind of take writers now seriously, as opposed to, no, we're going to get people from the Brill Building or this or that. And they're like, no.
Turned it all around, man. Seriously. I mean, they turned it all around. I mean, so did Bob Dylan, and so did, but you're right, because now, okay, now you don't have to go to a publisher. You can try to write, sometimes that was a major pitfall because, not everybody can write, but I mean, it really made that door slam open, and I will always be appreciated for that.
Here's another Beatle kind of a variant question for you. I heard my aunt was a huge fan of the Rascals when I was little, and so I heard your version of Slow Down and the Beatles version of Slow Down. And it's like, so going back to your early thing about the then and now, yours sounds more like your album motif, whereas like the Beatles one sounds like lunchtime at the cavern. They're just checking everybody up.
Did you hear the original one? Because we weren't. Yeah, so you know what I mean.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, there's a big difference between the English and the American soul.
Yeah, well, you guys.
This is the place, man.
Mhm.
That's why I moved down south. I mean, this is the place. I mean, like I say, okay, that doesn't take anything away from what they did, which was
No,
unique.
no, absolutely, and
Yeah.
pretty soulful here and there. I mean, both of them.
Well, to a degree. I mean, but like I say, it's a different feeling. I know that like, well, I don't know if I should tell stories, but when I was with when I was with Ringo's All Star Band, we had John Entwistle. You remember John Entwistle?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and of course Ringo and his son were playing drums at the time, and man, they had a lot of trouble playing grooving. They just
really?
couldn't feel it. It's not a difficult song, but it's a rhythmically different song.
Yeah.
So I talked them into hiring a Puerto Rican a conga player, and as a matter of fact, who worked with Billy Joel. So he was more than that. He was a saxophone player and singer and everything. But it's a different feeling. A lot of people have. They don't understand that syncopation.
No, and I'm trying to picture Ed Whistle playing grooving.
Well, he was saying to me, I feel like I'm skipping. He was a great guy, man. He couldn't hear a darn thing, man.
Oh, God.
But
Could you?
he couldn't hear a thing. I mean, seriously, he was the loudest thing I've ever heard in my life. With that bass, and he had only half of his rig. The Who were pretty loud. They when you knew they were there. Let's put it like that.
Yeah. Well, and you got to think, if he's used to playing with with Moon, that's how he started. Try and find there.
They were loud, man. I mean, interesting group of guys. I remember one time we were working with them. We, the Rascals, were in Chicago with them, and I swear, just before they were getting ready to go on, they were having a bloody fist fight in the room. And the road manager comes in and says, "All right, mates, it's time to go to work."
Good Lord.
Yeah.
So in those days, let's say the height, 65 to 68, who would you tour with around the world or the US or whatever?
Well, we would go out with whoever was available to come to the United States, because they have to get these visas and work permits and all that. Mm-hmm. We work with the Zombies, we work with the Kinks, we work with actually we shared a stage with Who and the Cream, which was we had a great time, man, because there was not 10,000 groups in every city. There was not that many of us.
Right.
And then it became like, well, household word. Let's start a group. Let's have a group. And there's a number of reasons for that. Popularity of the, it wasn't really, in my opinion, till Led Zeppelin came along, that there was some decent money to be made in this business.
Yeah.
Unless you were, of course, Elvis Presley or somebody like that, then you're making decent money. Right. So, but when Zeppelin came in, it was kind of like, well, the international record scene was, I believe, created. Prior to that, Columbia was the only label that I knew that was international. I mean, we struggled because Atlantic was only Atlantic in the United States. Every country of the world, we had a different record company, which was impossible. So when Zepp came over to Atlantic, they were Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers was international. One record came out, the whole world got it. Huge difference.
Interesting.
Yeah, because
it was interesting. It was, it was a whole different world.
Wow. And that's because Peter Grant was so shrewd.
Well, no, I don't know if it was a stroke of luck that Warner's purchased Atlantic to put him in their family, Peter Grant was pretty shrewd, I mean, with Zeppelin, he had a policy which I don't know if people know, but if you want to see the Led Zeppelin, you pay. You go to a lot, because I don't think they ever did television.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah, I don't think they ever did television.
For sure, when they were going under the new Yardbirds, maybe like that early, maybe. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like I say, Peter Grant was, most of the groups that are like, what's the word I'm saying, world renowned.
Sure.
They had great management. That's so important. I mean, people don't realize it. This is the music business. if you don't know the business, I don't care how good your music is. You
Right.
know, you got to have it together. You know, the only exception I would say to that might be the Stone, because those are some smart guys, man. They know what they're doing.
That's
Yeah.
yeah. I've always heard that about Jagger for specifically.
I think, you know, it's well, I think that their education, you know, was in the finance world and business world.
Mhm.
You know, it's like Garth Brooks. I mean, Garth Brooks was a marketing major. Boy, did that pay off.
Yeah.
Well, I live in Charleston, South Carolina, so the big band from here is Hootie and the Blowfish,
Oh yeah,
and they all went to University of South Carolina, and we're all business and marketing majors.
it's so important. I mean, you know, like it's so square to talk about, but you know what? It's the music business. End of story.
Yep.
No, we don't really know, you know, the inner workings of what happens, you know, with just getting a song popular, or you know, like what I'm doing right now. You know, I mean, in the old days, you got to get that song on the radio, man.
Oh yeah,
You know, well, you need help because it doesn't matter how good it is. You need
right,
help.
right. So did you guys do TV shows?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
I think that's kind of a silly question. I saw one of the clips for Slow Down was on a black and white TV show.
Well, we did Ed Sullivan a number of times, and then of course we had Hullabaloo, and you know, around the U.S. they were all these kind of shows were breaking out at that time. But you know, the majority of them were not live. Ed Sullivan was live, you
Was
know, but the majority of them were what they call lip syncs,
Right.
and that could cause a lot of trouble with a bunch of young guys.
I
Yeah,
think
we had a lot.
lip sync, right? American Bandstand.
Oh, God, you know, I think so. Yeah. I think so. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Good old Dick Clark. Yeah. Who was a great, great guy, by the way. Yeah.
Was he?
Well, because, you know, he realized how important it was to us, you know, to be on that show. And, you know, he helped us. I mean, but if you're on that show, you get a lot of exposure.
Oh
you
yeah.
know.
That's true. How does a band have to do a TV show where they're lip syncing and their song fades out? What what is the thought process in the band of going, well, not quite sure
Oh,
how
yeah,
to do
well,
that.
that's only part of it. I mean, like I say, it's really interesting. You know, we would do a lot of shows in the Midwest, and one day we decided, you know what? When they start filming, let's all switch instruments. You know, and the producer went out of his mind. What are you guys doing? You know, yeah, you know, the fade out is really the director. You know, the guy who's in the booth. He fades you out and it out. You don't really see yourself, you know, on camera. You know, you're not supposed to look there anyway. You know,
Right.
Right.
so
Yeah.
you just do your thing. You know.
Wow. Wow. What's the biggest show that you've played, like attendance wise, just ballpark?
Oh wow. Gee, I don't know. Seriously, I mean, it becomes a blur after a while. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've done a lot of shows over the past. You know, I wrote a book a year before the COVID, 2 years, and I said I'm going to put a page together. I don't know if I put it in. I probably didn't. I'm just going to write down all of the people who I have been on stage with, or on a TV show with, or met. Now I hate to say, we go all the way back to Bing Crosby, man.
Right.
We
Wow.
did yeah. I was in a canoe with Bing Crosby. Yeah, in
Wow.
California somewhere was a television show. But we did all those shows, you know. And as far as audiences, well, we did the Hollywood Bowl. You know, we did Madison Square Garden. You know, uh, we had really a lot of fun, a good career.
Wow. Wow.
We had a good time. You know, I mean that's the thing. I mean, I hope that the younger people have as much fun as we had in those days, because we had a ball.
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be fun. I mean, the saying goes, you play music, you don't work it, you know? So it should be fun. Like you said, other than like band interactions, okay, those can get a little dicey, but it should be fun.
Well, it is fun. I mean, seriously. I mean, the procedure is, you know, like you start a band, okay, and you write a song and you record the song and put it out into the market. People like it. Wow, let's do it again. You know, so
Yeah.
it's really exciting. And you know, as I say, you really don't understand the process until you kind of dig in and say, oh, I see what's going on here. You don't know that the record company has meetings every Monday where they assess whether they're going to, promote you anymore, or they're going to put another dollar into your product.
Right.
You don't know about that because they don't tell you about that,
Right. I think there's a large segment of that business where they're selling the dream of it to you. I'm going to make you a star, kid, and it sounds great. And when you get it, you're like, this is great. But then, like you said, it could be whoosh, Monday morning meeting, and you were just knees are cut out from under you.
Well, there's this group of folks out there that call them the one-hit wonders. The one-hit wonders. There's quite a big list of those.
Mhm.
As a matter of fact, I had a friend that had one hit. And he wrote a whole musical small opera around the one-hit wonder. Yeah, it's a difficult thing. I mean, seriously, you can imagine. You get one, and then that's it, and then you're gone, and you're 21.
Yeah.
And you spend all that time getting to that spot, and now you can't go back. Oh, wow.
Well, it's a difficult career, and today it's a really difficult career because the corporations, like with every other industry. I mean, there's a major thing going on now with Amazon. That they put a monopoly suit. What do you call that? Antitrust.
Yes.
They put all the little guys out of business. Okay, well, just what happened, with our business. The same thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's very difficult out there, and that's not going to stop people from trying. I think they should continue to try, but my only advice is be prepared. Be prepared.
Right. Where can we get the new record for you? Where is it out yet? And
it's out as of the 15th. Yeah, the best place is FelixCavalieremusic.com. We have we have it available there. It will be available on Spotify and with Apple and Tidal and all that. But if you get it from my website, it's immediate. We got all kinds of contests going on. We're giving away a keyboard or stuff like that.
Cool.
Just to have people hear it. It's very hard to be heard.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Very hard.
And thank you so much for doing this. This has been great.
Yes, thank you, sir. It's fantastic.
Well, great. Well, you get us oldies but goodies guys on here. We could tell you some stories.
Well, that was even more than what I expected. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly from my perspective, being able to play with a Beatle is just crazy. Just the idea of looking back and there is a Beatle, and because they, as he mentioned, they changed so much. Mostly this, if you go back to the Songwriting Hall of Fame thing, the Beatles changed everything for songwriting for the bands, because up till then, bands were kind of propped up. They were almost like boy band kind of stuff.
Right.
And they didn't allow them to do their own writing. And the Beatles insisted on it.
Yeah.
And if you take a Stones version of that, the Stones, I think first two records were all covers, or mostly.
Yeah.
And the Beatles said, you can do it. And they gave them the first, non, Chuck Berry or, Howling Wolf or whatever song. And they had them say, okay, you can do it. And they did. And clearly, they turned out quite good at it.
Yeah.
But up to that point, it's kind of the brill building writing, or Tin Pan Alley kind of stuff, which is great. Like, I love those Carole King songs that she did for the Monkees. They're fantastic. But as he mentioned, the Beatles just slammed that door open, which is huge. All of a sudden, because that gives you autonomy with your record company. And that's just vital in this industry.
I thought it was very interesting that he said that the money didn't start really flowing until, as he said it, the Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, right. Because Peter Grant changed all that, because in the old days, the promoter would get like 90% and the band would get 10. And Peter Grant said, nope, we're not doing that.
And I love the fact, the way he said, Peter Grant says, you do not see this band for free. So they weren't on television or anything. That was rude.
Yep. And I was thinking about this because he mentioned his record is called Then and Now. Yes. Well, and now we've had a new Beatles song called Then and Now. Yeah. So that would have been fun to ask him about that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this has been
those dumb luck things, right?
What now?
It's kind of like a dumb luck thing.
Yeah, exactly. In our dumb luck, we did that interview before the then and now came out from the Beatles.
Right. Like the wrong version of Seeing into the Future.
Right. Well, awesome. This has been an unexpected fun one. I love it when that happens, when it works to that way.
Yep.
All right. Well, until next time, this is the Plus One, a rock and roll podcast. I'm Jack Trash.
I am Chris McLernon.
Live your life to 10 plus 1.
And we'll see you at Will Call.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Plus One, a rock and roll podcast. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to get all the latest backstage info. Leave a 5-star review. Check out our past shows on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Check out our video of this episode and the past ones on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. New episodes drop every Wednesday.